All right, welcome to this webinar. It's for both the Twin Cities Area Solar Co-op and Duluth and Arrowhead Solar Co-op. Little housekeeping we'll go over first. You can engage a few different ways. Can we unmute people, Vincent, and let them talk? Or how is that going to work?
I think we can ask folks we can allow them to talk. So yes, that will work.
Okay, if you want to do that, let us know. It's fine to ask a question or give a comment that way. Also ask questions in chat. And just to make sure everyone understands the chat function has the settings right, make sure the to line is set to hosts and panelists. I think the default is just a panelist, so only a few of us see it. So why don't folks find that, put your name, where you're from, and your strongest interest in solar, what appeals to you most about solar.
Bobby, I could be wrong on this, but I think if you change it to everyone as opposed to hosts and panelists, it will go to everyone in the group. So that if you
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Thanks, Vincent. Make it everyone. Yeah. I told you exactly the wrong thing to do. Let's hope that's the last time I do that. Brooke from Moose Lake, Brett Pence, Duluth MNIPL, Cindy Hales Driving, Duluth, North Oaks, Steve from West Metro, keep them rolling in, Frank from Duluth, Katie, Minneapolis. Great. Just again, your name, where you're from, and if you want to say what your strongest interest in solar is, add it there. And the webinar is being recorded, and we'll send it out to everyone that we'll send a link to the recording to everyone who registered. And the webinar will take about an hour, 15 minutes. All right. So wanted to first thank and acknowledge our partners. Part of what makes these solar co-op work is we have local partners that help spread the word and help make sure folks know about the opportunity. The partners are MNIPL, Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light, Cook County Local Energy Project, the City of Coon Rapids, the City of Minneapolis, Minnesota Renewable Energy Society, and One Roof Community Housing in Duluth. And I just wanted to invite Brett from MNIPL to say some words about their organization. They're a key partner in all of this work.
Sure, thanks, Bobby, and hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I am Brett Pence. I'm with Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light. We're a nonprofit, faith-based nonprofit, works on bringing the voice of faith communities and people of faith into the climate justice movement. And in this state, we work a lot on the solar side of things, on the practical side of things. So we think solar makes just great sense from a standpoint of policy, from the standpoint of practicality, which Bobby's going to talk about a lot tonight, and then also from just connecting with people. So we're delighted to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Brett. Brooke, did you want to say a little bit about One Roof Community Housing and your partnership in this effort?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Brooke. I work for One Roof Community Housing. We're a nonprofit community land trust in Duluth, Minnesota, with homes in Cloquet, Duluth, Proctor, and up the shore in Two Harbors and Grand Marais. And we've been partnering with Solar United Neighbors. This is the third year now, the third solar co-op. Solar United Neighbors brought to our organization the opportunity for lower income homeowners to be able to access rooftop solar arrays. So we're continuing that work. Thanks.
Thanks, Brooke. All right, we're gonna launch in. So Solar United Neighbors, we're a national nonprofit, and we're vendor neutral, meaning that we don't have any particular relationship with any one solar installer, and we encourage as many solar installers as possible to bid on the co-ops, the solar co-ops that we do. This is how we think about ourselves. We help people go solar, join together, and fight for their energy rights. Nationally, we've helped over 8,000 folks go solar through a solar co-op that's created 65 megawatts of solar and eliminated 843,000 tons of CO2. In Minnesota, 204 folks have gone solar, 1.66 megawatts of installed solar capacity, a little over 5 million invested locally. And you can see the energy savings and the jobs created and the metric tons of CO2 offsets. We track who goes solar through the co-op and the size of the arrays pretty accurately. And a little bit about how we got started. I like to share that because it's gives you an idea of the flavor of how we work. In 2007, Anya Schoolman, she's a woman there in front. Her son Diego there to the right of her, as we're looking at the picture, he saw An Inconvenient Truth with Al Gore. For those of you who remember that. And came home and told his mom, we just need to go solar. Why wouldn't we go solar? And they started looking into it. And at that time, they got different answers from different electricians, different solar installers, different folks at the city. And there was no straight path forward. And Anya's mindset is to be an organizer, to bring folks together. So she got she got her neighborhood together there in Mount Pleasant. And they met over a period of actually more than a year to figure out the process and how it works. And 50 homes in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood ended up going solar through that work. And the story made the news, and she started getting calls from other folks that wanted to do it. And for a while, she ran it out of her home there, out of her living room. But now it's turned into Solar United Neighbors. We've got members in all 50 states. We work in 11 states. We've got 11 state-based programs in Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico. And we've done 370 solar co-ops, and 8,000 homes have gone solar, and worked on successfully passing policy that makes more solar possible at the federal and state level. And here's our theory of change. We want to help people go solar. We want the folks to join together and then share the good news about solar, about how to do it, why to do it, how it works for them, and then work together to fight for energy rights to make more solar possible. So we're hopefully this year at the Minnesota legislature going to pass a law that prohibits homeowners associations from blocking solar, which has been a problem in Minnesota. There's 7,700 HOAs in Minnesota. 1/4 of homeowners live in an HOA, and most of them make solar difficult or impossible. Another issue that we like to incorporate into our work is equity. How do we make our transition to solar equitable and to address past inequity in our power system. And Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light is a leader on that issue. Brett, do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Sure. I'd be delighted to, because Solar United Neighbors has been a fantastic partner to work with on this, and their model really works well in terms of promoting equity. Bobby's going to talk more about this later, but their model is set up so that the people that choose to become part of the co-op can choose their installer. And as part of choosing your installer, you can choose based on price and based on locality and based on the kind of panels they have. But you can also choose based on other factors like equity, like are they a local installer? Are they, do they have certifications that are great, that have consumer protections? Do they have a diverse workforce? Are they working towards a diverse workforce within their organization? And Solar United Neighbors also, like our organization, really is focused on access. How can we get solar to people that may not be able to afford it and that are most in need of it? So I know Bobby will be talking about that, but we think solar is just a great vehicle to push those items. So, and to make the world a better place. Thanks.
Thanks, Brett. And one way we think about it is that, you know, communities of color, low-income communities have often borne the brunt of the harm of our power system, living closer to sources of pollution and not benefiting as much from our power system. So as we create policy, we want to figure out how we not only don't repeat those mistakes, but can move towards renewable energy and solar in a way that addresses those and makes ownership and the benefits of solar more readily accessible to communities that have been disenfranchised in the past. We are proud to say we did win an award, Sun, MNIPL, and One Roof, for our inclusive outreach to low-income homeowners, and we're included in this DOE guide on how to promote solar equitably relatively recently. All right, so here's the next big hunks of what we're going to go through. We're going to go through the basics of solar technology. Then we're going to hit the economics of solar, and then cover how the solar co-ops work. So solar technology. The way I think about this is that you don't really need to know how a distributor cap works, the details of it, but you kind of need to know what it is. So when you go in to get your car fixed and the mechanic's talking to you about what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done, it makes sense to you, and you can know enough to know when they're saying something to you that's doesn't make sense or isn't right. So we'll give you the very basics of how solar works on your home. And we're talking about solar photovoltaic, which converts solar energy into electricity. There's other types of solar that heats hot water, but we're talking about what's called PV solar, turning the sun into electricity to power your home. And here's the basic components of a solar array that would be on your home. So you'll have the solar array, the panels on your roof, and they produce direct current. That feeds into an inverter, which turns it into alternating current, which is the current that you use in your home. That flows to your electrical panel. And solar's, it's basically hungry to be used. It's going to go to the closest load. So if you've got something on in your home that needs electricity, it's going to flow there. So if that light's on, if that electric stove's going, your refrigerator's running, that solar that you're producing is going to go right to those draws, and you're going to use it in your home. if it's a really sunny day, like in this picture, and you're producing more power than your home needs, the power that you don't use is going to go into your utility meter and go back onto the grid. And your neighbors are going to use it. It's going to go to the closest load. So your neighbors they have their lights on, they're running their AC, they're going to be using the renewable, clean solar power that you're creating. So a lot of people think about solar as I want to be self-sufficient, and there is an aspect of it that way too, but it's also about being interconnected and creating a more resilient community, because a lot of during the summer, you're going to often be producing more than you're using, and you're going to be sharing that with other folks on the grid, and you're going to be compensated for the power that you put back on the grid. And we'll go over how that works in just a second. Here's the basics of a panel. You'll have a frame, glass, an encapsulant that binds the solar cells to the glass, another encapsulant, a back sheet, and then a junction box, which is used to string the panels together. And when you put those panels together, it's called an array. The solar panels are a very well-developed product at this point. They're mass-produced, getting better all the time, and have pretty impressive warranties. There's two types of warranties on a panel that you need to understand. The first is a production warranty, and those are 25 years, and they vary from 90 to 95% typically. And what that means, let's say your panel's rated at 92%, 25-year production warranty. That means on the 25th year, it's warranted to produce 92% of the amount of power that it produced on day one. So panels are a product that the manufacturers feel good about. There's a second warranty called a product warranty, which is just defects and a warranty against a defective panel. And those are typically 10 to 15 years. This is an important terminology to get in your head and get right. It'll make your life easier as you think about solar. Kilowatts and kilowatt hours. So kilowatts is a measurement of how powerful a unit of power, and kilowatt hours is a measurement of usage of that power. So you think of a 60 kilowatt light bulb versus a 100 kilowatt light bulb. That 100 kilowatt light bulb is brighter, and but it also takes more power to run. So the size of your solar array is going to be in kilowatts, but your electricity usage and the amount of power it produces, your array produces in a year, is going to be kilowatt hours. So if you had 1,000 kilowatt light bulb and you ran it for 1 hour, it would use 1 kilowatt hour. Average size of a solar array is 6 kilowatts to 7 kilowatts. And how much kilowatt hours that array produces will depend on its orientation, how much shading it gets, that type of thing. And this picture here is to scale. You can see based on a person there about how big this 4.8 kilowatt array would be. Next component is racking. So this is what attaches your solar panels to your roof. And the main thing I think to know about racking is that no one's figuring out as they go anymore. These are well-developed products that have been used for quite a while, and they're getting improved on all the time. So for almost any type of roof scenario, there's a racking system that was designed for that roof. And you could see here they're installing a racking system on asphalt shingles. And here's some other options. You can see how asphalt shingles works with the flashing. A ballasted system for a flat roof is just weighted down. Bottom left, you'll see clamps on a metal standing seam roof. Solar works great on metal standing seam roofs. You don't need to penetrate the roof at all. Here you can see this array on a standing seam roof with not much of a pitch. And of course, there's ground mounts, which usually allow you to put up a larger system and allow you to orient it, perfectly towards the best, receiving the most sun. The next component to know about is the inverters, which take that direct current that the panels are producing and turn it into alternating current, which is what you use in your home. There's two basic kinds. There's a string inverter, which all of your panels would feed into that one string inverter. And there's micro inverters, which every panel would have one micro inverter. And then there is a combination of a string inverter with DC optimizers. And we'll talk a little bit more about how they work now. So you can see how this is an example of a string inverter. All of the panels are wired in series to go to that one string inverter. Fronius and SMA, Sunny Boy are some common brands of those. The thing about string inverters is that because of how electricity works, if one panel is partially shaded and not producing to maximum, the rest of the panels are reduced to putting out that lower amount. So they only work well on a ground mount system or a system that's getting full sun all the time, no shade. And most typically that would be a ground mount system. Micro inverters, there's a small inverter on every panel. Solar Edge and Enphase are two common brands of micro inverters. And then you can kind of create a middle ground of one string inverter with DC optimizers that make sure each panel is putting out its maximum capacity to that string inverter. Your installer is going to recommend what they think is best for you. So it's not something that you need to get overly worried about. It's just something you need to understand what it is as they're talking to you about it. And so how does all of this connect to your home? It feeds into your electrical panel. That's a pretty simple connection in the panel. Most homes don't need an upgrade. If you do need an upgrade, it's usually runs around $4,000 or so. The good news is the solar investment tax credit, which we'll talk a little bit more, applies to your electrical panel upgrade too. And there's also some other money through the Inflation Reduction Act for panel upgrades that will go into. But if you look at your electrical panel and you see plenty of open slots there, you're most likely good to go. If they're all maxed out, you might need an upgrade, which is good for other reasons. If you want to electrify, if you want to continue to electrify your home, you'd want that anyway. So what's a good roof for solar? South facing is the best, but east and west also work. North facing is just not recommended. If an installer wants to install panels on a north facing roof, you need to be asking some tough questions about that. That's just not a great idea. You want to have no sun or not much sun from 9 to 3 p.m. That's going to be 80% of your production time at 9 to 3. And you're gonna want about 200 square feet of space to get a system that makes it worth doing. The other thing to think about is how old your roof is. We recommend you have at least 10 years of life on your roof. Since to replace the roof, the panels will have to come down, and installers will do that and then put them back up. So 10 years of life on your roof, we recommend. The good news is if you have a newer roof and you put those panels up, it's the panels that are taking the beating for the most part, and not your roof. So you get some longevity to that part of your roof. So in Minnesota, we have net metering, and this is the first of the key incentives to understand about how to make solar work for you financially. So you produce the power from your roof, you use what you need, goes the inverter, you use what you need in your home before the power gets to the meter. Then what you don't need goes into the meter. And your meter runs backwards, actually, when the power goes through there. So you're credited for that power. And every utility pays a slightly different rate, but it's all roughly retail. So you'll be paid roughly retail for the solar you produce. And then that electric power goes to your neighbors, and they're paying the utility for it. It's not as if the utility's paying you for something that they're not also selling. So Minnesota was the first state to adopt net metering in 1989. And you can go up to 40 kilowatts, which is a very large system for a home, and benefit and get net metering. So here's kind of another simplified version of how it works. You use 300 kilowatt hours from the grid, and you exported 200 kilowatt hours to the grid. In other words, you produce 200 kilowatt hours that you didn't use yourself. And then your electric bill is going to be 100 kilowatt hours. Now, those numbers could be reversed, and that you use 200 and produce 300, and then that 100 would be negative. Then you would receive a check or a credit. Different utilities settle up differently. You'll have to look at your options and choose what is best for you. But in the summer months, it's very likely that you'll be running a credit with your utility. And in the winter, of course, when you're producing less electricity, you might not be. So being paid for the electricity you produce and don't use is an important part of making solar financially viable and making it fair to people producing solar. So what happens when the power goes out? When the grid is down, your solar shuts off. And that's so you're not backfeeding electricity into the grid, and the lines people are out there trying to get your power back up, and they get shocked and injured. So there are some inverters that will allow you to that will stop the flow of solar to the grid and allow it to keep going to your house. So that is an option if you want it. It's a little pricey, and don't know of anyone who's done it that I can think of, but that's an option if you want. But if you want power to your home when the grid is down, batteries are what you're looking at. And you might want batteries if you've got frequent utility outages, you've got critical loads at your home, medical equipment, well, pump, things like that. Or you're into emergency disaster preparedness, and it's important to you. you don't save money when you use batteries. Number one, because instead of selling that unused power back to the grid, you're storing it in your battery. But also, batteries are kind of expensive. And the battery won't power your whole home. What you'll do if you get a battery is you'll create a circuit in your house with the critical loads that you want to power, and that battery will feed that circuit when the power goes out. So typically you'll create a circuit that has a refrigerator on it, maybe a microwave, some lights, some outlets, a cable modem, or maybe the outlet for a small window air conditioner. And that's the circuit that will be powered when your power's out. Anything that produces a lot of heat, a stove, a dryer, electric water heater, those usually aren't on that circuit because they just have such a large draw. They draw your battery down very quickly. And just to give you an idea of cost, here's a rough cost of what adding this battery to this system added. So it was half again the cost of the solar. Batteries are getting better quickly. They're changing all the time, but they're not very affordable yet. We have a pretty comprehensive guide on batteries if you want to look into your options and learn more about it. So it's at solarunitedneighbors.org/storage. All right, just a quick review again. You've got your solar array, your panels on your roof, making that array that produce direct current, feeds into the inverter, which turns that direct current into alternating current. The alternating current goes to your electrical panel. You use what you need. What you don't need goes into your utility meter onto the grid. Your neighbors use it, and you're compensated for it. Warranties. Here's some frequently asked questions, and we'll pause here and see if folks have other questions. Warranties. Inverters typically have, I didn't mention that, 10 to 15-year warranty, depending on the brand. Homeowners insurance. Most homeowners don't penalize you for adding solar. If yours is going to raise your rates substantially, it's worth shopping around. It's something to look into before you go solar, to find out how they handle that, and to start looking around to it if they do want to raise your rate substantially. Maintenance of panels. There's no moving parts on panels, so there's no regular maintenance that you have to do. You will get your inverter will be connected to your Wi-Fi. If you don't have Wi-Fi, it could be done through a cellular card that will give you a readout of what your panels are producing, and if there are any problems on an app on your phone or on your a computer website. Your installer will also be sent that information. Often your installer will know there's something wrong with the panel before you do. So there is an ongoing maintenance, but there's no such thing as maintenance free. So people run into problems and they're usually fixable. How long do systems last? Like we said, the panels have a 25-year warranty on them. That's pretty substantial, but this new round of solar panels that have that kind of warranty, they've been going up at a large scale relatively recently. So we're not sure how long they'll last. I don't think on the 26th year they're not going to be bad, but we think people can count on 25 years and thinking about their payback period. If you live in an HOA, you're going to want to check with them. A lot of them place barriers. I'm happy to work with you. If you live in an HOA and want to try to get it through, and hopefully we'll pass legislation this year that removes that barrier. Historic districts are tough, not impossible, but very tough. Any other questions, folks, before we move on?
Bobby, did you see, I may have missed it, but did you address Mike's question about snow on,
Snow on panels, yeah, good question. When there's snow on your panel, it's not producing solar. But the winter months are such a low producing month. That's usually fine. We find that people that do want to remove the snow from their panels, do it for a couple of years, get tired of it, and then after they don't do it, they realize they've hardly lost any production at all. The snow will slide off eventually if there's any kind of pitch on your roof. So most folks in my experience don't worry about it, and that works out fine. If you do want to try to slide it off, if you do want to try to get it off your panels, you'll need to find something that doesn't scratch or damage your panels. I'm just looking at the chat here. Any other questions? Or yeah, batteries aren't typically sized to power the whole house. There'll be a specific, you'll have a circuit that your installer will create that will power some critical loads, and they'll go over with you what loads you want powered and how to do that. Panels are very resilient. They can withstand hail. Yeah, that's tough weather is no problem. All right, I'll move on, and if I didn't answer your question, speak up and we'll get it. The economics of solar. All right. So costs have dropped dramatically on solar. You can just kind of see over time how the price has gone way down as the product has gotten way better. And there is a 30% federal tax credit. So the way that works is the cost of your solar, which can include a panel upgrade, electrical panel upgrade if it's needed. 30% of that you get as a tax credit. So let's say your tax credit is $5,000. You would take that off the amount of taxes you owe. If your tax burden is, let's say it's $4,000 and your credit's $5,000, you can roll over $1,000 until you use it. But if you're lower income and you don't have much or any of a tax burden, federal income tax burden, of course, we're all paying sales tax and other forms of tax. But if you don't have a federal income tax that you're paying in, the federal tax credit doesn't help you. That's unfortunate. We tried to get a provision passed that would pay back low income folks cash, but didn't pass. So the way it works now, it's a credit. So the installer typically will show you how much your solar costs, and then, show you the credit for 30%. Just remember, you're gonna have to pay that money to the installer, and you won't see it back in your pocket until tax time. So there's financing options that allow you to navigate that, but just keep that in mind. But 30% reduction in cost if your tax burden is large enough. Here's an example of some pricing, just to start looking at and thinking about how solar can pay for itself. Let's just look at the 8 kilowatt column there, the one furthest to the right. So this is for Excel Energy territory. In this example, at 320 a watt, your price might be higher, it might be lower. This is kind of for examples, but that's a good back of the envelope number. 25,600 would be the cost. The federal tax, the 30% federal income tax credit would be 7,680. So you're looking at 17,920. And so as soon as you turn that system on, it's producing electricity, which is worth money. So your estimated year one electricity savings are 1,293. 10-year savings cumulative, we've got in here 13,829. Estimated lifetime savings is 28,813. Then your net profit over 25 years is 20,893 bucks. Few things to keep in mind. The 10-year savings isn't just the 1 year times 10 because electric power is going up. And actually Excel has been trying to get a pretty substantial increase lately. Your solar installer in their proposal will have the year at which you break even. We require that they use pretty moderate escalators on how much power is going to go up, and that they use realistic assumptions about how much power you're going to produce. If you're getting bids from other installers and the payback period is very, very small, like say 5, 6, 7 years, you're going to want to look at those numbers hard and see if they haven't jacked up how much power has gone up or kind of overestimated how much power you're going to produce. I see, like, I want to say like 12 to 15 years is the range that we usually see, though you can get lower and sometimes you get higher. Here's an example using a loan, and just go out to that last column on the right. We can go through that. Your monthly loan payment on this system would be 133. Your monthly electrical savings is 108. So your net monthly payment is 25 bucks. You're out 25 more bucks a month than you were before you put in the solar. And then your net profit over the 25 years is 1,500. So the short and long of this is solar often makes sense with financing. You just, of course, the return is not going to be as great, but it can still work. And here's some numbers run if you live in Minnesota power territory. And you'll see we ran two different. Let's look at that column that's in the middle there, the 6.9 kilowatts, which for Minnesota power territory would get most people to 100% offset. You're producing 100% of what you use in a year. And over 25 years, it's 19,421 bucks. And then again, here's some models of Minnesota power with a loan. And you can see it works out. So there's quite a few loan products for solar. Some installers offer a loan. It's worth looking at what they offer. It's also really worth shopping around. A lot of people get a home equity line of credit or refinance and include solar. That's not as common now that the interest rates are up. But if you go to solarunitedneighbors.org financing, we've got a list of everything that's available that we know of. Here's some lending center at the Center for Energy and Environment. It's got a great product. And Jim Hasnick from CE's here with us. And in a minute, I'll turn it over to him to talk about what they do. They're a nonprofit and they specialize in energy efficiency loans, including solar. Affinity Plus Credit Union and Highway Credit Union have a product, and Members Cooperative Credit Union, which is up in Duluth. They've got a branch in Duluth. They've got a good product. But Jim, do you want to turn your camera on and tell us about what Center for Energy Environment does for solar loans?
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me again. And yeah, can you go to the next slide, actually?
Yep.
So see, we're a nonprofit based here in Minneapolis. We also have an office in St. Paul, about 170 employees now. I'll get to the lending part in a minute, but we do research, engineering, policy work at the Capitol to kind of keep energy conservation moving forward and keeping it around. We do a lot of programs. What that includes is we do home energy squad visits for CenterPoint and Excel customers, residential around the Twin Cities. We do some small commercial lighting programs and rooftop programs. Work with cities throughout the state to help prepare and implement energy conservation programs for their cities. Oh, there's a lot. I'm sure I'm missing something, but engineering, a lot of research projects from solar. Air source heat pumps is a really big one that we do nationally on cold weather climate, air source heat pumps, and getting those to work better in the state, and working on training programs with installers in Minnesota and installing them properly. With all the tax credits coming, that's going to be a very big focus of ours as an organization. And then there's us. We do lending. My department, I've been here 29 years and things have kind of evolved over time, but we administer programs for different cities. Next slide, please. Different cities throughout the metro in Minnesota. And I think there's 17 cities. In Minneapolis, there's about 25 neighborhoods that we administer programs for. Minnesota Housing, which I'll go over in a minute, is a energy loan program that we use for all of our solar programs right now. Our projects is a big piece. And then we are in conversations with Minnesota Housing, Department of Commerce, with all the IRA funds, Inflation Reduction Act funds that are coming out there for potential lending. We're in the conversations of how is Minnesota potentially going to be able to use some of these dollars. So we've got some ideas on interest subsidies, buying interest rates down through these Minnesota housing programs. How do we get these funds out to 40% of the funds have to be used for disadvantaged or communities. So how can we get these dollars out to them as well? If you are in the metro area, this slide goes over, we do the home energy squad home visits for residential properties. They come out and do the inspection, do if I could think here, a blower door test. They install products, light bulbs, thermostats, make sure that everything is insulated properly, and then they will write up a proposal of work and what they think could be done and give you a scope and a score for your home. Next slide. If you are in the metro and in CenterPoint XL, you can call this number to schedule that or go online. There are a lot of cities that we work with that do pay for some of the cost. Sometimes they're free, no more than $100 though. And depending on where you live, it might be less than that. Next slide. The reason I did want to talk about that, actually not go back slide, but with the home energy squad is, as people say, the cheapest energy is energy you don't use. So solar is awesome. I have solar in my house, but one of the things to think about is what can you do to use less energy in your home, which is going to be your insulation, lighting, things like that. That is going to help you use less energy and maybe need a smaller solar project, less solar panels on your home. I'd already kind of talked briefly about this. We work with Commerce, Minnesota Housing Finance Agency. There's a list of the cities that we do partner with. CenterPoint, we do have an on-bill repayment program with CenterPoint. XL Energy, we do some commercial financing for lighting projects that are going through their rebate programs. Next slide. So the one of the things that we've done with interest rates have obviously in the last year have gone up substantially. Minnesota Housing has an energy loan program that we've always administered. It's been around for a long time, but it used to only go up to $20,000. It didn't include solar. So we couldn't sustain it forever, but we were using our own capital to do solar loan program. But with Minnesota Housing, we were able to, can't say it's only us, but we're a big part of getting them to finally add solar to their energy loan program. That happened last summer, which was huge for us as an organization, and it's a great program that's statewide, that's available. They increased the amount from 20 up to $60,000, increased the maximum loan term from 10 all the way up to 20 years. The rate, current rate is 5.375%. They do adjust it monthly. It was higher with us whining about interest rates. We actually got them to lower it and not increase it the last few months, even with rates federally going up. Because they do have a cost of capital. We do get those questions. Well, it's a state program, state financing. Why are interest rates going up there as well? But they do actually have to get those funds and have to pay for that money as well. So there is a margin that they have to just to break even. So if I would shop around, as Bobby had mentioned, but this is a great program. There's no income limits. One of the other things that's nice is it's up to if you don't have any equity in your home, up to 110% of the value of your home. It's a very simple, easy program. We do just verify. We have to verify income that you can afford to pay the loan back. Get a copy of the bid or the proposal. We do make sure that the contractor is properly licensed, and we'll work with you on that. And we do it does finance 100% of the project. Bobby had mentioned that you've got tax credits. It's not going to be money in your pocket. You've got other rebates and solar rewards programs that are out there that you aren't going to have right away. So these dollars are up to 100% of the project. We don't re-amortize the loans, but there's no prepayment penalty on any of these loan programs. Next slide. Before no, sorry, before I guess that's all I really had, because that's the main program we do. But the slide that we will work with people to see what the best option is that is out there. Because on one of the previous slides, we've got all these different city programs, neighborhood programs, Minneapolis, and those interest rates, let's say you live in the city of Coon Rapids. The interest rates could be 2 to 4%. If you're in Ridley, for example, their interest rates at 2% right now. We will automatically, you don't have to worry about what application to fill out. If you're in a certain area that we have a program and get you a lower rate, we will automatically work with you to get you into that program. We do administer a lot of other programs outside of the state one. I am in conversations with some cities around the Iron Range to create a subsidy program. What that is using dollars from cities to buy the interest rate down. Ridgefield, Brooklyn Center, and St. Louis Park, they currently buy the interest rate down from say I think it's 5.75% with the state down to 3%. So there are other options, just to keep that in mind. We will work with you on that, and you don't have to know everything that's out there, but there's a lot of great programs. And as Bobby mentioned, just shop around, and if you have any questions, please let me know or us know. That's it.
Jim, thanks a lot.
right.
That's
Thank you.
great. All right. So let's review solar incentives now. There are grants for farmers and rural small businesses through the Rural Energy for America program, REAP. That can cover up to 40% of the cost of the solar project. It used to be 25%, but the Inflation Reduction Act increased it up to 40%. There's financing available through the Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE program. Minnesota Department of Ag has a livestock grant program if you are a farmer raising livestock. And then businesses can take accelerated depreciation. So if you're a farmer, a rural small business, and want to look further in any of these, let me know and I'll work with you. We do have a guide coming out for how to apply for REAP grants. And we have webinar coming up on February 2nd about that. To sign up for it, you can just go to solarunitedneighbors.org/events. Vincent, I don't know if you're able to drop the direct registration link into the chat. Please do that. And you can download the guide. It's out now. Just go to solarunitedneighbors.org/REAP. It explains step by step how REAP works, who qualifies, and how to go about making it work for you. If you happen to be in Dakota Electric territory, they've got a one-time $500 rebate you can get. Then for folks in Minnesota Power territory, they have their Solar Sense program. So this year it is up to $5,000 towards the cost of your array. It's based on the annual production of your array. It's 56 cents a kilowatt hour for your estimated first year of production. You'll see that last year, last year, they're at the bottom, 84 applied and 58 were funded. This year, the amount of money is cut in half, but also the amount you can get is cut in half. And then it opens up on March 1st. It runs out almost immediately. In the past, they did a first come, first serve. This year, they're doing some type of lottery system. We don't know the details on how it's going to work, but the short and long of this is if you're in Minnesota Power territory and you want to have a shot at getting this, you need to join the solar co-op soon, and we'll make sure that you get a proposal in time to have a shot at this. They also have a low-income solar program, which is a grant program. It's $120,000 pool of money they have. Applications are due in March of last year. I haven't seen a date this year. Actually, I didn't go on and look today, so I don't know if they set a date yet, but expect it to be roughly around that time. So the income guidelines they use are the same as for energy assistance. And you can see it's a 3-month look back. So if you're got a 3-person household, your income over the last 3 months needs to be $12,346 or less. So if you're in Minnesota Power territory, and you fall in these income guidelines, we can help you apply for this. Of course, if you're a one-roof home, you can work with one roof, and we can help you through that avenue too. Then for Excel folks, they've got 2 incentives to know about. One is every Excel customer that goes solar, as long as the pool of money is available, can get paid an additional 2 cents a kilowatt hour for 10 years. So you'll get your net metering, whatever solar that you don't use and you put back on the grid, you're compensated for that. But for every kilowatt hour of solar you produce, you'll also get 2 cents for 10 years. In order to get that, you've got to limit the size of your array to 120% of your annual usage. Some folks that have a nice, large, great roof and can produce 200% of their solar forego getting that incentive and just go for a larger array. It actually makes more financial sense to do that for some folks. So as you're working with your installer, know that a lot of them just assume you want the 2 cents. But if you're going for maximum amount of production and don't want to limit your size to 120%, you don't have to. You just don't get that 2 cents. There's $5 million in the funding pool for that. That will likely run out, by the middle of the year or sooner. Here's a look at how solar would work with some of these incentives. So you'll see the 5 kilowatt system, the 30% tax credit is there, and then your estimated solar rewards year one production earnings is about $186. So over 10 years, you're going to get $1,860. Not nothing worth getting if you can, but for most folks, it's not a deal breaker if it ends up not working, or if you want to go larger than 120%, you're not giving up as a huge amount. The larger incentive that Excel has is the income qualified solar rewards. So if you qualify for energy assistance, and again, here's the income thresholds, you can get $2 a watt upfront. So that's, getting close to two-thirds of the cost of your array. If you qualify for energy assistance and you're not getting it, I'd encourage you to apply for it. My understanding is they aren't able to use all the funds they have every year because people that do qualify aren't aware of it. There's a time lag between when you apply and when you're qualified. So if you are qualified and want the $2 a watt, there's a way for us to get you the $2 a watt before it's the community action program that will qualify you for energy assistance. And then the last incentive, if you live in Minneapolis, they have a green cost share program. So it pays 20 cents a kilowatt hour for your annual productions for anyone, 35 cents a kilowatt hour for homes in a Minneapolis green zone. I'll show you what those are in a second. And 40 cents for low-income dedicated homes, such as the City of Lakes Land Trust home, for example, or anyone qualifying for energy assistance. This has to be done through a group buy, and 1 of every 5 homes needs to qualify for the green zone rate or the low income rate. We've been able to get everybody that wants into that in the past, but we have to maintain that ratio, and there may come a time when we're not able to find enough or work with enough low income or homeowners to get everyone in. The next round of funding for this, the application that I have to send to the city is due February 1. So if you're interested in getting this and you live in Minneapolis, joining the co-op sooner than later would be good. There's another round of opportunity available in April. So there's usually funds left by then too. Here's the green zones in Minneapolis. And if you think you might live in one, you just Google Minneapolis green zones and there's a map. You can type your address into it. But what they are is areas of the city where the city has determined that are disproportionately people of color and disproportionately harmed by pollution. And they want to they want to give extra opportunities in those green zones. So if you don't live in a green zone and you put up a 5 kilowatt system, you get about $1,250. It's going to vary depending on your estimated first year production, but you'll be in the ballpark there. The way it works is Sun will send you that check and then we get reimbursed by the city. And again, we've been able to get everybody in the co-op that money so far, but there's no guarantee on that. Here's the breakdown for someone who qualifies for energy assistance in Excel territory. If you have a 5 kilowatt system, it's going to be roughly $15,700. The Minneapolis Green Cost Share is going to pay you about $2,500. The Solar Rewards for income qualified is going to pay you $10,000. So your out of pocket is $3,200. So those are pretty substantial incentives. If you qualify for energy assistance, I'd encourage you to get a proposal, and we'll find out what that number is. And if you need some help raising the difference, we may be able to help you there. All right. Any questions on incentives before we move on to how the solar co-op works? We'll keep going. Why do folks choose to go solar with a co-op? You get a good value on installation, support throughout the process. You know, I'm here to help you answer your questions, help you troubleshoot. And Brett's based in Duluth. I know he's engaged in that too, can help you. A lot of folks like going solar with other solar enthusiasts. And if you want to stay involved in Sun and MNPL and the other groups and be a part of the solar movement, this provides a great way to do that. And here's the really reason why solar co-ops work. This is the price over the last 10 years, and you can see how overall it's gone down. The yellow is the system components. That's gone down substantially as the quality's gotten better as they mass produce and work it out. Labor costs have gone down as the equipment to install has gotten better, and the training has gotten better, and there's more people with deep experience in installing solar. But what hasn't gone down is the soft costs of procuring customers. So a solar installer will give a competitive bid knowing that, you know, we're going to bring them 100 or more people who have been vetted. We've looked at their roof and determined that solar will likely work for them, and they've been educated about the process, and they're very interested. That's worth a lot to an installer. Here's kind of the steps of the solar co-op, and both solar co-ops, the Duluth and Arrowhead and the Twin Cities area solar co-op, are underway. I'll share a little bit exactly where each one is in a second. So in the beginning, it's really about attending a solar co-op info session, learning about the co-op and solar, then signing up online. So to become a co-op member is free. There's a web page that for each one that you'll share your address. If you have your utility bill, it's handy to download that. Ask you some questions about the age of your roof and things like that. Takes a couple of minutes. And then once you do that, Vincent, who's on the call here that works for Sun, will do a satellite roof review of your property, determine A, if it's great for solar, B, probably going to work, or we don't think it'll work, there's too much shading or it's too small. If you do get back an email saying it's not going to work and you think something is wrong, let us know. We can talk to you about that. So once your roof, if it looks good for solar or ground mount, if that's what you want, you're in the solar co-op, and it's free to be a member, no cost there, and you will get a proposal from the selected installer at the co-op price. We really rely on co-op members to spread the word. That's one of the main ways the solar co-ops grow. So please do that. After we get a certain amount of members, we put out the RFP, to the request for proposals, to installers, and any installer can bid, and we call around and try to get as many bids as possible. And a group of solar co-op members review those bids and select the installer they think is best for the solar co-op. So the Twin Cities Solar Co-op has already gone through this process and has an installer. I'll introduce them in a moment. And the Duluth and Arrowhead, bids are in and we'll be selecting installer next week. So if you do want to be on the selection committee for the Duluth and Arrowhead Solar Co-op, it's not too late. You just need to join and let it. We'll ask you when you sign up if you want to be on the selection committee. So that installer will get you a proposal at the co-op price. I'm happy to review it with you. I'm happy to help you think through it if that's helpful. And then you decide if you want to sign the contract with the installer. That's up to you. And that's the moment at which there's an obligation, a financial obligation. Until then, everything's been free to you. Solar United Neighbors gets $600 from everyone who signs a contract and goes solar. That's built into the price. That's not an extra that you pay. We didn't always do that, but our solar co-op members actually encouraged us to get some type of compensation for the work we do. Primarily our funding is grants, but this is an important source of funding for us because we can be responsive to members with it. We can do what we want with it. I meet weekly with the installer to see how things are going, to troubleshoot, advocate on behalf of members. And then we usually like to wrap up at the end of the year with a party of folks that went solar. So iSolar is the selected installer for the Twin Cities Solar Co-op. I think Dan's on the call. I don't know if folks have any questions for them, or I don't know, Dan, if you want to say a few words, you're welcome to. They were they won the bid last year too. They've been great to work with. So if you join the solar co-op, the Twin Cities one, you'll get a bid from them in short order. So what's next? If this all sounds good to you and you want to join the solar co-op and look at going solar through the co-op, join solarunitedneighbors.org/Duluth for the Duluth Solar Co-op, /Twin Cities for the Twin Cities Solar Co-op. Just click the join the co-op button and you'll be led to a page that will ask you a few questions. We do have some upcoming events for the Twin Cities Area Solar Co-op. We got on February 1st, an event in Coon Rapids at their Civic Center. And 21st, we have one at Invictus Brewing in Blaine, which has solar on their roof. So if you know of anyone in those communities that's interested in solar, please spread the word. If you go to the Twin Cities Solar Co-op page, there's a little tab for events. Click on events. You can learn more and you can register there. Then lastly, I just wanted to share a little bit of information about the Inflation Reduction Act and some opportunities to electrify your home. Incentives were built in the Inflation Reduction Act that are relevant to solar. So there's an organization called Rewiring America. They've got a guide to the Inflation Reduction Act and electrifying your home, and I pulled that from there. But I highly recommend their guide and their website. But electrical panel upgrade, the 30% tax credit applies to the upgrade. But if you have if you're a low income household or a moderate income household, you can have a substantial part of the electrical panel upgrade paid for. And they're still figuring out exactly how it's going to work. But the way this is going to work is you don't have to front this money. It goes right to the electrician, and you'll never have to pay it. So up to $4,000 for low income households, and 50% of the cost for moderate income households up to $4,000. And again, 30% tax credit applies to the panel upgrade. And EV chargers for low-income communities and rural communities. There's some tax credits available for that too, for rural and low-income communities. And then there's some other opportunities there at Rewind America too you might want to look into. So thanks everybody for being here. Your interest in solar. I know that many of you on the call tonight will be solar by the end of the year. That's just the way it always works. So that's exciting. Any questions or parting thoughts from folks? Any of our panelists have anything else they want to share before we wrap up? Well, thank you, everybody. I hope that I see a bunch of you in our Minnesota. We have an online queue once you join that will say Minnesota Roofs to Review that Vincent plugs through. So I hope we see many of you in that queue tomorrow. Have a great evening.